and elections. You know, APC has like 19 aspirants, but we have two top contenders, which is Mr. Tia Laibe and former Governor Timothy Silva. Before the commencement of the elections, Mr. Tia Laibe opted out of the race. Now you have the others contending with Timothy Silva. We have, midway through the accreditation process, three notable candidates, that's Dr. Karila Silva, Chief Dikidi Ekewa, and Pastor Apala Toyin, came to the accreditation venue and complained of not being informed that the primaries were taking place that day. They didn't get a text message, they were not called on phone, so they had no way of even participating in the event. That caused some rancor, people explaining, the panelists trying to soothe their nerves and all that. At the end of the day, the others that were earlier on informed that took part of the process did the accreditation, elections were conducted, and Smith was declared winner. Aside that, that's all that happened.
Okay, thank you very much, Indabra. We really appreciate your contribution to the program. Happy Independence Anniversary. Maybe you should join the governor and enjoy the dinner tonight.
I sure will. Thank you.
All right, yep, back in the studio now. So one of the things that is extremely important and very critical to the growth of our nation is the quality of the education that our children would have, because that's what will transform the nation, we're told, and it's globally acceptable. What's your thoughts on where we are? Because if we take it sector by sector, going from education to economy and so on, let's start with education for you.
Education is a great emancipator, as the governor of Kaduna State mentioned in the earlier clip that you showed. There are global studies that have been done over the years. And one particular one that actually struck with me is this: 1971 to 1991, 20-year gap. 83 countries in the world were in the poor ranks. Nigeria was in there. And there is a correlation, a study done on the secondary school percentage, gross secondary school percentage enrollment. Those 83 countries all have secondary school enrollment of 28% and lower. 20 years, fast forward 20 years, 1991, all of those countries, with the exception of 10 of them, were still poor. Therefore, that data suggests that if you want to get out of poverty, make sure that at least 28% of your children are attending secondary school. Another study done, 1991 to 2011. Nigeria was still in that category in 1991, with this time around with the remaining countries. The 10 states or 10 nations that have emerged out of poverty, even though they had lower unemployment, were countries that discovered oil. Saudi Arabia, Oman, UAE, etc., etc. So it was oil that actually made them get out of poverty, rather than, what I would call
the quality of the education.
Exactly, knowledge-based, hard work. Now, 1991, 2011, same thing. Nigeria was in that group. There were, the remaining countries, and they still remain poor. Nigeria's GDP per capita was 2,200 or so, thereabouts, in 2011. Now, the good thing about things today is that Nigeria's high secondary school enrollment is over 30%. In fact, it's over 40% today. Now, here is a cause for concern. Imagine the map of Nigeria. Start from Lagos. Start with a very dark red color. And then as you go, fade it. Ogun, Ondo, Ekiti, Lagos, 100% secondary school enrollment, or thereabouts. As you go further up, Delta, the southeast states, as you just continue, Kogi, Kwara, you are around 75% less. Abuja, middle belt, between 70 to 60. By the time you hit the northeast, you're looking at under 20%. Now, you're going to have, if you do that same correlation analysis, 20 years from now, you're going to find the crisis and violence going on unless we pay attention to education. So the president's remarks, the statement about education being a critical factor in emancipating the country, is where we should pay attention to. Policymakers and educationists and the rest of us citizens would have to do our level best to ensure that secondary school enrollment remain above 50%.
Okay, Mr. Idoko, what's your own thought?
Oh, well, yes, I think his analysis is quite insightful. But I have to say this, that across the board, education, as he said, is emancipator. Without education, I can't imagine where we're going. And if I must put a Nigerian who was a very great scientist in America, Philip Seymour Agwali, he said that ideas must come first. Making money or whatever should come second, because even ideas will make money. Now, the United Nations says that we must make budgetary provisions for education at 26%. For decades, Nigeria has not met that limit. For decades, not just 1 year, not just 2 years. And he was talking about secondary school enrollment being more than 40%, yet we're in poverty. Because his analysis, his correlation analysis, was that if you have a secondary school enrollment from 28 and above, you are likely to frog leap out of poverty. But Nigeria has even made 40% and above, and we're still deep in poverty. So what's the problem? It also means that that correlation analysis, will not work for us. So what should we do? I have said time and again that we must actually declare an emergency in the education sector.
I think that has been done a few times now.
Well, I don't know, but because I remember a few years ago, Professor Wolosha Inka said something that people, thought was crazy. He said, let's shut down the country, and go back to the drawing board. That we have missed the way. And the first thing to strike is education. We haven't done well at all in education. Look at the crisis in education. Crisis is even an understatement.
Okay, well, let's quickly go to Maiduguri in Borno State, where our reporter, Blessing, is... unfortunately, I am told she's not ready at the moment. So we will go to that, because I was keen to go to that, because I know the governor of Borno State is making every effort to train the girl child, and he's already investing a lot in that. So, okay, we'll come back to education. Let me come back to you, Kiarubuka. When you look at the situation we have, let's start to look at our economy. The last 55 years, there are some people, and I will not be quoted as having mentioned any name, there are some people that said a former head of state of Nigeria did allude to the fact that everything that could go wrong has gone wrong. He doesn't know why the wheels have not come off the economy of this nation, because they seem to be on autopilot.
So sometimes I actually say, despite some of the policies, we seem to continue to chug along. It's simple when you have this large demographic. I mean, the key catalysts in creating jobs and in continuing to grow the pie and expanding the economy, that's why I call inclusive growth, that is to say, rests with small and medium enterprises. Because when you look at it, statistics after statistics show that in most countries, over 80% of job creations are done by small businesses. Small in the sense that 10 to 100 employees. And the government economic policy must actually be reoriented towards that segment of our economy, rather than the big ticket transactions. They hit the headlines. They are the ones that actually feature in the 10 o'clock news or the 9 o'clock news, but they don't tend to be the job creators. The job creators are the ones that are not quite sexy. And that's where government attention and resources need to go.
Okay. So